Okay, I guess we might as well get to this movie since it's a part of the franchise. It's a part of Sam Raimi's trilogy. And as we count down to Spider-Man Homecoming, so here we go. But let you know there is going to be spoilers in this review. Now, I could save you the trouble and just tell you what happens, or you can just go and watch it for yourself. I'm not going to tell you which one to do. Okay, so the marketing for the movie was really done. It was done really well. I mean, the teaser really set up the, it had the right tone to it. It felt dark. It felt gritty. I mean, this is like basically one of my favorite Spider-Man stories. And when they were putting out trailers for it, it looked really good. I mean, I was really looking forward to it, even though I had some minor concerns. When I heard that they cast Topher Grace, as Eddie Brock, but still, like, I kind of put my mind aside. I kind of put my concerns aside as the trailers came out, and the full trailers were epic. I mean, I was really looking forward to this movie. And then, like, when you see, like, in the first half of the movie, things are going really well for Peter Parker. I mean, he's able to get to school on time, and things are going well with Mary Jane, and New York, loves Spider-Man even more now, and he just cannot be happier, and it's just something that he's not really used to, and he's like easily sucked into all of that, and it kind of makes him, it soon puts tension between him and Mary Jane, to where like things start to tumble downhill for her in her acting career, and he's not really paying attention to that. But then again, she's not really trying hard enough to really open his eyes and tell him that she has been, what's been happening, like where they basically fired her after that bad review. And so it's kind of more of her fault than it is his. I mean, seriously. And some of the effects in this movie are pretty terrible. Like, especially where when Harry confronts Peter and he's chasing him, like through the city and like on his glider or whatever, and when they get into a back alley, it looks so bad. I mean, it just looks so terrible. I'm like, I know they didn't have the same person who did the first two with the effects back in this one, but didn't you mean to tell me that you could not afford for those effects to look better? I mean, come on. I mean, with that high budget, I mean, come on. I mean, that was a letdown for me, like, in that sequence. And Peter could have turned into Spider-Man, and, at one point, he had a few opportunities in that sequence to go hide somewhere and just get in the suit so people won't see that it's, that it's Peter Parker swinging around, like, but, it's what it is. And speaking of the new Goblin, I don't know. I mean, like, the glider was pretty cool, but his like suit was just sucked. It just sucked. I mean, some people thought the Green Goblin suit was terrible, but no. I mean, I have bigger gripes with with Harry's suit. I mean, maybe it was a stepping stone to him, becoming more of the Goblin. I guess that's what I thought it was going to be. But no, he just keeps that suit on through the whole fucking movie. And as all trilogies do, they have to add a little plot twist to the third one. Something that you thought was true from the beginning, that they, that wasn't addressed, and then boom, and then it's addressed here. And so they do that with, this movie, even though they showed it in one of the trailers, that Uncle Ben's killer has not been caught and is still out there, and it's the Sandman. And it sounds like a cool idea, but a lot of people, don't, felt cheated, like when that happened, and I can understand why. It didn't bug me at that time, and until I really started to really pay closer attention, I'm like, well, yeah, that is kind of a letdown, even though it didn't bother me personally, but it is definitely a letdown, and Sandman was done really well, though. I mean, I loved how, like the person they chose for it, and the scenes that he was in, and the fights that he had with Spider-Man. I mean, they were top notch. I had fun watching that. And then, and he had a lot more screen time than Venom. And then, speaking of Venom, the effects on the black suit were done pretty damn good. When it takes over Spider-Man's suit and everything. I mean, that was all good. And even though they didn't have a really good setup, it was just like a random thing where a meteor hits New York and then here it comes. It doesn't have a really good setup, like how it would have been in the comics, where you see some astronauts come across something. They could have had that in the opening sequence. They could have done that. See, but no. You can tell Sam Raimi is not a huge fan of where this story arc was going. Like with Venom, like after Peter and all that. But after Peter rips himself from the suit, I mean, you can tell he does not like it. And then the studio told him that, you gotta put Venom in his movie. And which brings me to lazy writing. I mean, like, it's just so bad. It's so bad. I mean, like, where you have a 2.5-hour movie, and then we have all these pointless scenes in the middle of the movie after Spider-Man is in the black suit. I mean, it's just, like Mary Jane being all whiny and then her and Harry hanging out and dancing, and it's just all we see is dancing and crying. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, the action is just pushed to the side, all that, and I don't know, and then all these love triangles, like, oh, Peter, Mary Jane, and Harry, oh, Peter, Mary Jane, and Gwen Stacy. I'm like, is this necessary? And Peter, Gwen Stacy, and Eddie Brock. Like, what the fuck? I mean, I don't know. And Spider-Man was not even in the movie that much. I mean, you saw more of him as Peter Parker than you did as Spider-Man. I mean, like, come on. I mean, there were some scenes I did like, but it wasn't enough to save the movie. I mean, when I watched it the first time, I was kind of okay with it. And then when I watched it again, it was like, my gosh, no, what the fuck. I mean, they had good plot elements, like my favorite, like I said, some of my favorite, Spider-Man stories, and they took them and they dipped them in a little dip, like filled with shit, and then they basically put it in our mouths. That's how I felt. And then there was a scene like where, like when Spider-Man was being, set up and Eddie Brock did a fake photo, and basically people were, saying, oh, he robbed the bank or whatever. And then there's this guy that said, I have a 9-year-old daughter that loves Spider-Man. Who's she gonna look up to now? What? So, why can't she look up to you? I mean, they could have had him, say those lines a little better with better words. Like those were bad. That was like bad choice of words, making yourself look like a major dick. And Venom, you can tell Sam Raimi hates Venom. the way he was, Venom was treated in this movie. And Eddie Brock is supposed to be intimidating, and I did not feel that towards Topher Grace, not once. And oh my gosh, I mean, Venom is supposed to give me nightmares. I mean, I wanted him to give me nightmares, and he did not in this movie. I mean, the design that they came up with looks pretty cool. I mean, like where he is Venom, but the way he was portrayed was terrible. I mean, and he doesn't go and team up with with other bad guys. Like this. Usually he wants He usually wants other villains to stay out of the way and say, okay, the spider is mine. You know what I mean? But here he recruits Sandman and says, I want him dead too. So let's take him on together. Are you interested? But even when he was in the church and he was praying to God for him to kill Peter Parker, it didn't feel as dark as they intended it for it to be. I mean, in the teasers and the trailers, it felt pretty dark. Like, damn, that's a little much. But here, I didn't feel that. I didn't feel any dark tone from the trailers in this movie, not once. It just felt like a really terrible, shitty comedy with the mixed in with the superhero vibe. That's what I felt. And it's just like in one, and then Act 3 is like a pointless tag team match, and then you have news reporters, like talking and acting like it's, like how they have voiceovers for like trailers to like TV shows where it says like tune in next week. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's how these news reporters felt. That's how they felt to me. And it was like a Superman pattern, like where like there was Spider-Man 1 was sort of like the first Superman, and Spider-Man 2 was like the second Superman movie, like where Superman basically his powers are gone at some point in the movie, and he just gives up being Superman, and then he has to go back to it. Same thing with Spider-Man. And then here, something from out of this world affects Spider-Man, affects his personality a little bit. Same thing with Superman. They get a hold of a kryptonite, it affects his personality rather than him physically, and then he has to rid of himself from that. And see, same pattern. And oddly enough, the results were bad for both movies, for both Superman 3 and Spider-Man 3. I can't even say which one is worse. I'm not even going to try to think about that. But Sam Raimi really dropped the ball in this movie, and oh man, he dropped the ball on this movie in that year. I was hoping this would be the movie of the year, but Michael Bay picked up that ball and he did a slam dunk with Transformers, the first one, and he eventually dropped the ball on that too, like as the sequels came along. But I don't know. With that all being said, I felt like this was a meal, like like if someone's, how someone spits in the meal before they hand it to you, like, and they, that's how this movie felt to me. So with that all being said, this gets 2 underwhelming chair spins out of 5. 1, 2 chair spins. You can tell how underwhelmed I feel in this review. Like, I mean, everything was just like a complete mess. I mean, I had high hopes, and when I saw this movie, this is where I learned to keep your hopes and your expectations in check. That's what I learned from this movie. I didn't learn anything other. I didn't learn any other valuable lesson from this movie besides that. I mean, there were some good action scenes, like where I did like when Peter and Harry fought the second time, and I do think it's funny how Harry kept getting hit in the head constantly as this movie went along. Like it was becoming like a bit of a gag, like where it was just like cartoonish. You know what I mean? But this movie was depressing. I get it, and you need to have some depressing moments, but they just overdid it for me. They just overdid it. And oh my gosh. And there was a moment, like, you know, like when Harry threatened to kill Peter, like to Mary Jane, he could have said something more something that would really push her to cooperate, like saying, if you don't get Peter to do this, then I will kill his Aunt May, or something like that, whatever. But I don't know. I'm done talking about this movie. But if you guys enjoyed my review on it, make sure you thumb up the video, click subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thank you for watching. Feel free to tell me how this movie experience was for you. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out, y'all.